Okay, so today we're diving into um, a story that really blurs the lines. You ready for this one?
Absolutely.
The story of Elisabeth Finch, a former writer on Grey's Anatomy. You might remember her
Oh, yeah.
for the captivating, deeply personal stories that she shared. Stories that later turned out to be completely fabricated.
It's a case that really makes you think. You know, in a world where charisma and controversy often go hand in hand, how can you tell a true visionary from a skilled con artist?
That is the question we are grappling with today. We've got articles, social media posts, and even insights from that Peacock docuseries Anatomy of Lies,
hmm
all trying to unpack this really complex situation.
What I find particularly interesting about this case is that Finch's fabrications weren't just confined to her personal life. She actually wove them into her professional work on Grey's Anatomy.
Right. It's almost like she was living this double life, one for the public and one for her colleagues. She
Yeah.
built this captivating persona
Right.
centered around a rare bone cancer diagnosis, chondrosarcoma, claiming to have endured chemotherapy, a lost kidney, and even an abortion that was forced by her condition.
And it was this story, this vulnerability, that seemingly caught the eye of Shonda Rhimes, leading to Finch getting a job on Grey's Anatomy, which is a show known for its, emotional, often medically inspired storylines.
But it didn't stop there. Finch went on to incorporate elements of her so-called illness into the show's storylines. Remember the character Catherine Avery?
Oh, yeah.
She's given the same rare cancer. Now, was this Finch channeling her supposed experience into her writing? Or was it a calculated move to further solidify her persona?
I mean, some of her colleagues, as they recount in Anatomy of Lies, initially saw it as a blurring of lines, maybe even a way for her to process her supposed trauma. But as more inconsistencies emerged, they began to question everything.
And that's where it gets even more complicated. The lies went far beyond her alleged illness. Finch claimed abuse from her brother and coworkers, a close friend killed in the Tree of Life synagogue shooting, even going as far to claim that Anna Paquin, the actress, donated a kidney to her.
Which, of course, Paquin has vehemently denied. And this pattern of escalating claims really makes you wonder, was this about seeking attention, or was there something deeper at play?
Finch's now ex-wife, Jennifer Beyer, is actually a nurse, and she started noticing discrepancies in Finch's medical claims. She started digging like a real-life medical detective, and her investigation ultimately led to Finch confessing her fabrications in December 2022.
And it's important to remember the human cost of these lies. Anatomy of Lies really highlights the pain and betrayal experienced by Finch's former colleagues, and even some fans who felt so deeply connected to her story.
Finch has publicly apologized, expressing remorse and a desire to return to writing. But it begs the question, can someone rebuild a career, a life, after such a massive breach of trust?
That is a really crucial question, and it brings us back to our central dilemma here. Was Elizabeth Finch a brilliant storyteller who took things too far? Or was she a master manipulator preying on people's empathy for personal gain?
To get to the bottom of that, I think we need to look closely at the specific instances of her fabrications, how those around her reacted, and delve deeper into the possible motivations behind such elaborate deceptions. What do you think?
Absolutely. Examining those details, I think, will give us a much clearer picture of whether we're dealing with someone who genuinely believed their own narratives or someone who was consciously manipulating those around them. Let's start by considering the sheer scale and intricacy of Finch's fabrications. It's almost like she was addicted to the drama, to the attention and sympathy these tragic tales generated. How did she manage to pull this off for so long, especially in an environment like Hollywood, where everyone is constantly under scrutiny?
You've got to remember the power of a good story. We as humans are wired to connect with narratives, especially ones that tug at our heartstrings. Finch, with her writing talent, was clearly skilled at weaving compelling and believable tales. And maybe, just maybe, she possessed a charisma that made people want to believe her.
You're touching on something crucial here. Finch didn't just rely on storytelling prowess, she also created these elaborate performances to reinforce her narratives.
There's a moment in Anatomy of Lies where one of her former colleagues recalls seeing Finch take what they called puke breaks during writing sessions supposedly due to her chemo. Looking back, it's a chilling reminder of how far she was willing to go to sell her story.
It's almost like a method actor, completely immersing themselves in a role, but with real-world consequences for everyone around them. And this performance wasn't confined to personal interactions. It extended to the digital world as well.
Right. Finch didn't shy away from sharing her supposed experiences in articles and on social media. That Elle magazine article about her cancer journey, the one that caught Shonda Rhimes' attention, was essentially a fabrication. In a way, she built her career on this foundation of lies. It's a stark reminder that in today's digital age, the line between reality and carefully curated online personas can become incredibly blurred.
Social media has become this breeding ground for what some call performative authenticity, where the pressure to be seen and validated can lead to extreme behavior. In Finch's case, it seems like this pressure might have pushed her towards outright fabrication.
And what's even more fascinating is that Finch wasn't just sharing her own story. She was also using her platform to critique others, often positioning herself as a moral authority. She called out people she deemed insensitive or hypocritical, especially during the politically charged Trump years. It's a strange irony, isn't it? Publicly calling out others while living a lie of such epic proportions.
There's a real dissonance there. It makes you question whether her activism was genuine or just another tool to bolster her fabricated persona. It also highlights how easily we can be swayed by someone who appears to be speaking truth to power, even when their own lives are shrouded in deception.
It's a reminder that we should always be critical of the information we consume, especially online, and to remember that even the most vocal advocates can have skeletons in their closet. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about Jennifer Buyer Finch's ex-wife. Her perspective in Anatomy of Lies is crucial because it reveals the devastating personal impact of Finch's deceptions.
Absolutely. Bayer's account is truly heartbreaking. As a nurse, she was trained to be observant, to notice inconsistencies that others might miss. It was this keen eye that ultimately led her to question Finch's medical claims and unravel the truth. Imagine the devastation of discovering that the person you love, the person you built a life with, has been living a lie for years.
It's a level of betrayal that's hard to fathom. The docuseries doesn't shy away from showing Byer's vulnerability, the raw pain she experienced. But what's remarkable is that amidst that pain, there's also this incredible strength, a determination to rebuild her life and reclaim her own narrative.
Byer's story is a testament to resilience and the power of truth. She could have chosen to stay silent, to protect her own heart, but she chose to pursue the truth, even though it meant exposing her own pain and jeopardizing her relationship.
Her actions really had a ripple effect when she started speaking out. Others who'd been deceived by Finch felt empowered to come forward and share their own experiences. It created a space for healing and accountability, however difficult that process might be. But it also begs the question, what about Finch's colleagues on Grey's Anatomy? They shared personal stories with her, supported her through what they thought were incredibly difficult times, only to find out it was all a fabrication. How did they react to this revelation?
One of the most powerful moments in Anatomy of Lies is when one of the show's writers recalls, realizing the depth of Finch's lies, she said, "We actually had a term for it in our room, where we would say, 'We got Finched.' It speaks volumes about the collective sense of betrayal, of having their empathy weaponized against them."
It's a chilling reminder that Finch's actions went beyond storytelling and had real consequences for those around her. It makes you wonder if there were any early warning signs, any moments where people suspected something was amiss.
There were definitely cracks beginning to show. As we dig deeper into specific instances of Finch's fabrications, you'll see that some people started noticing inconsistencies in her stories, questioning certain details. It's almost like a puzzle slowly coming apart at the seams. It's incredible to think about just how deep these fabrications ran. One of the most shocking claims was that Finch had to have an abortion because her chemo made pregnancy impossible.
Right, and then there was the kidney transplant story, where she claimed that Anna Paquin was the donor. Again, Paquin completely denied any involvement.
And these weren't just isolated incidents. Finch seemed to strategically weave these lies into opportunities for professional advancement. Remember that article she wrote for Elle magazine in 2014?
Yeah.
The one detailing her cancer journey? That's what initially caught Shonda Rhimes' attention and paved the way for her to join the Grey's Anatomy team. It's disturbing to realize that she built her career on a foundation of deceit.
It really makes you wonder, what if the truth hadn't come to light? Would she have continued to climb the Hollywood ladder, all the while perpetuating this carefully constructed persona?
It's impossible to say for sure. However, the docuseries hints that Finch's carefully constructed world was already beginning to crumble. People were starting to notice inconsistencies, to question certain details. It seems like just a matter of time before it all unraveled.
And did unravel.
Right.
Thanks in no small part to Jennifer Byer's courage in seeking out the truth. She confronted Finch, leading to the confession that brought everything crashing down. It's a stark reminder that even the most elaborate lies can't be sustained indefinitely.
Byer's actions demonstrate the importance of holding people accountable, even when it's painful. She could have chosen to protect herself and stay silent. But she understood the power of truth and the need to expose the deception.
Her bravery had a ripple effect, empowering others who had been deceived by Finch to step forward and share their own stories. This collective act of truth-telling created a space for healing and accountability, however challenging that process might be.
And what about Finch? Where does she stand now? She's expressed remorse, admitted to her wrongdoings, and stated that she's seeking help. But many, including those featured in Anatomy of Lies, remain skeptical about the sincerity of her apology.
She's essentially been ostracized from Hollywood, and it's uncertain whether she'll ever be able to work in the industry again. She's expressed a desire to return to writing, but the question remains, can she regain the trust she so carelessly threw away?
That's the million-dollar question. Redemption is possible, but it demands genuine remorse, accountability, and a commitment to making amends. Only time will tell if Finch is capable of this kind of transformation.
So after this deep dive into Elisabeth Finch's world of fabrication, the question remains, was she a gifted storyteller who lost her way? Or a calculated con artist who exploited the empathy of those around her?
It's tempting to try and neatly categorize her, to label her as simply a grifter or gifted, but the truth is far more complex. Finch's story serves as a cautionary tale about the allure of fabrication, the complexities of human motivation, and the enduring power of truth. It's a story that challenges us to confront our own vulnerabilities, question our assumptions, and recognize the importance of discerning fact from fiction, both in our personal lives and in the wider world.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most captivating stories are the ones we need to examine most critically. What stands out to you in this deep dive? What does Elisabeth Finch's story tell us about the world we live in, a world where the lines between truth and fiction can often be blurred? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for joining us on Grifter or Gifted.